All right, guys, let's knock this thing out. The 1 through 5, say list the critical values of functions solve the inequality. As long as you will put your critical values on your sign graph, I'm fine with doing it that way. So like the critical value there is 3. If I plug in 100, it's going to be positive. That means that's negative. So my answer is going to be everything from 3 to infinity. That one's pretty easy. It's already done for you more or less. Number 2, when you do critical values, remember it's what makes your numerator 0 and what makes your denominator 0. So I have a -1 and a 0. If I plug in 100 on the top, I get 500. If I plug in 100 on the bottom, I get 101. That's positive minus positive. I'm looking for positive, so I'm going to go negative infinity to -1, bracket, union, bracket, 0 to positive infinity. Number 3, a little bit tougher. You got to add these fractions here. It's going to take a second, so be patient here. Remember, we talked about this week when you add fractions, you can basically cross multiply. My denominator is already done. The denominator is going to be each one of those. To give my numerator, I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to do x plus 1 times x minus 1. Those are conjugates, so it's going to do foo, x squared minus 1. To do my other two, I'm going to do x plus 2 times x minus 3. Now, there's a minus sign, so be careful. I'm going to do FOIL with the minus sign in the front. So if I do FOIL, I'll get x squared minus 5x plus 6. I know I'm doing this pretty quickly, but I'm trying to make the video a little bit short. So x squared minus 1, take that minus sign through, x squared plus 5x minus 6. Over x minus 2, x minus 1. Now, the x squareds on top cancel. I get a 5x minus 7, and that's over x minus 2, x minus 1. So now I can do my sign graph here. When I do that, say I'm going to get a 7/5, a 1, and a 2. So I'm going to put the 1 first, the 7/5 next. That's the top, and the 2. Plug in 100 everywhere. I would get like 493, I would get 98, I would get 99. Those are all positive, so I'm going to get plus, minus, and this time I'm looking for the minuses, so it's going to be everything from negative infinity to 1 with the bracket, and everything from 2 to positive infinity. So a lot of stuff there. Good night. I kind of have to erase that so I can have room for number 4. Give me just a second there. There we go. Number 4. Factor what you can first. So on this right-hand side, that's really x plus 2, x minus 2. That's supposed to be parentheses. Here, that's x plus 5, x plus 2. So I'm going to have to move this over and add the two fractions together. So basically, that 5 is going to turn into -5 when I move it over. My whole denominator is going to be x plus 2, x minus 2, and the x plus 5. Now the 3, this fraction over here does not have the x plus 5, so I'm going to do 3 times the x plus 5. Then what is now will be a -5 does not have the x minus 2, so I'm going to put the x minus 2 there. So numerator becomes 3x plus 15 minus 5x plus 10. All that is over x plus 2, x minus 2, and x plus 5. All that is less than or equal to 0. So my numerator is going to be -2x plus 25. All that is over x plus 2, x minus 2, and x plus 5. There we go. So time for my number line now, my sign graph. Let's see what I got. I got -5. That's the smallest thing. My numerator, by the way, is going to be 25 halves, which is 12 and a half. That's way out there. I'm going to have a -2, a +2, and then way out here somewhere, 25 halves. If I plug in 100 everywhere, the weird thing this time, if I plug in 100 on the top, I get -175 down there, 102, 98, 105. Because the top's negative and bottom's positive, that means this is negative, which means that's plus, that's minus, that's plus, that's minus. I'm looking for less than 0. There are 3 places. We haven't seen that very often. One is from negative infinity to -5, the bracket. The other one is between -2 and 2 with brackets. And the last one is from 25 halves to infinity. It's a lot of stuff. Let's go to number 5. Last one of these, you're probably saying, thank goodness. All right, so first step, let's just move everything over. So I got 4 minus 4 over x minus x. Actually, that wasn't very smart. I'm going to erase that. Let's move everything over to the x side. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm just noticing I'm going to have a negative x squared, which I don't like a whole lot. I like everything to be positive if I can. So let's move the 4 over. Let's go 4 over x plus x minus 4. So I basically just move that 4 to that side. Now, got to make a big old fraction bar. The denominator is only one denominator. It's x. The 4 already has it. You have to multiply each term by x to put it over x. So it's going to be like x squared. But still just cross multiplying. 4 times x is -4x. So if I rearrange that numerator, I get x squared minus 4x plus 4 over x. That's really x minus 2. X minus 2. You can just x minus 2 squared if you want to. So on my sine graph, I'm going to have a 0 and a 2. If I plug in 100 everywhere, that'd be, I wrote 100. That'd be 98 and 98, which is positive. That'd be 100. Everything's positive, so it'd be plus minus plus. Now that I've written this over here, it says this is less than 0, so I'm looking for the minuses, and the minus is between 0 and 2. And that's all you got to do in that one. Number 6, find the inverse of this thing. Find the inverse, you just turn the points around. So it's going to be 5, 9, 4, negative 3. I can't believe I'm actually doing this on video. 7, negative 3. You better not miss this one. I'm just saying. Like, just your x, remember, inverse means your x's and y's switch. Determine, graph that one, determine if it's 1 to 1. If you graph this one, it's going to look something like, let's see, something like this and this. And it does pass the horizontal line test. Should put yes, it is 1 to 1. And you can graph that on your calculator, but when you do, make sure that you put your denominator in parentheses, much like we did last week. Number, the directions, it should say 8 and 9. It says 14, 15. I don't know who wrote this out. Determine it's 1 to 1 if it is. Now this one right here is a slope-intercept form. It's a line, so it definitely passes the horizontal line test. So to find the inverse, you switch the x and y's, and you get the y by itself. So I'm going to move the 9 over, 4y. So to finish up, if I could write it correctly, I'm going to do f negative 1, which is really the y, equals x minus 9 over 4. There's your inverse. Number 9 is going to take us a little bit more room, so I'm going to blow that up a little bit over here. If I switch the x and y's on number 9, I get x over here, y over here. I'm going to cross multiply now, make that, let's see what the best way to do this is. 2xy plus x equals 5y minus 3. And all I did is I cross multiplied. Now I need to get the y's together because I'm trying to get the y by itself. So I'm going to switch places with the x and the 5y, move the 5 over here, move the x over here. They just switch signs. Here's the trick. You factor out the y. When you factor out the y, it's going to make it very easy to find the inverse. Now I'm just going to divide both sides. I'm going to divide both sides by the 2x minus 5. There it is. Now you probably want to take that y out and replace it with the f negative 1 of x. Number 10, use composition to prove that they're functions. So this is going to be a little bit of work here, but it's going to work out great. You got to do f of g of x, which means I'm going to plug function g into f. Actually, it doesn't say g, it says f negative 1, but that's okay. So I'm plugging this one right here into that x. So I'm going to say 2/5 times 5x minus 5 over 2 plus 1. Let's see what happens here. First of all, these 2's cancel. So I get 5x minus 5 over 5 plus 1. Now, in that first part right here, all those 5's will cancel, which will leave me x minus 1 plus 1, which is x. And that's what you want to get. You want to get x both times. So then you got to go the other way. Then you got to go g of f of x. All right, or now I'm plugging this one into that one. So I'm going to say 5 times all this stuff. 2/5 x plus 1 minus 5 over 2. It's going to work all that out. So if I distribute the 5, the first term of the 5's cancels, so let's get 2x. 5 times 1 is 5 minus 5 over 2. The 5's cancel, that's 2x over 2. And guess what? The 2's cancel, and I get x. What a shock. Number 11, difference of factor cubes. Remember, small, big, cube root, square, multiply, change of sign, square, one step. 12 says multiply, factor first. You can only cancel factors. The top right there is the difference of squares. So I'm factoring m plus n times m minus n. Actually, it says division. So division, I got to flip it. So I'm going to put r plus s. Again, don't know who typed this test out since it says multiply and it actually says divide. M plus n's cancels, r plus s's cancel. All that leaves is m minus n, and guys, you're done right there. And number 13, find the 16th term, and there's your formula. You're welcome for that. There's your formula. So to find the 16th term, that means a 16. You do the first term, which is 9, plus n minus 1. Guys, that's your n. 16 is n. 16 minus 1 is 15 times d. D is the difference in the terms. It's going down by -4, so I'm going to do 15 times -4. You can punch that in your calculator, and if you do, you should get negative 51. And the last one, 14. This was the same one I was on a test a couple weeks ago. Square root equation, get the square root by itself. So I'm moving the 1 over. And I'm going to square both sides. Square this side, square this side. The left-hand side, the square root just goes away. The right-hand side, you go square. Multiply together, double. Square. Now, because there's a square, I'm going to have to factor. So I'm going to move everything over. I'm going to move the x over there. And give me a negative x when I do that. So that's minus 3x. The ones, if I move the 1 over, they're gone. So the way I factor this is I just take out a GCF, which is x. That means my two answers are 0 and 3. Plug them back, both of them. If I plug in 0 right here, that'd be 0 plus 1 is 0. That won't work. Plug the 3 and 3 plus 1 is 4 plus 1 is 2. Yep, 3 does work. All right. I went through that pretty quickly. I hope it's okay. Watch as much as you need. Got a nice long weekend coming up, so study hard. You have to study for a few days. So do well. See you tomorrow.